Hey, Courtney Smith here. That's a picture of me over there. And I want to talk about trading mastery and how to get it. You see, we all start out as beginners. Everybody is a beginner. But our goal should always be to become masters at trading and not just get stuck in the mediocre phase. You see, we know, and I've met and have worked with some true trading masters. And I've been able to watch them as they do their job of making millions of dollars. And all the trading masters I've met make millions of dollars. We all want to be one of those masters. And the question is, how do we get there? Most people, and I'm saying probably 90% of people, really never make any money, lose money, break even, make a little bit. That's mediocrity. What we need to do is get to mastery. So I thought I'd put together a little bit of a video here to talk about what I watched as I watched the trading masters that I worked with. And we're talking about people that are in the Market Wizards books by Jack Schwager, which are excellent books. So some of those people have hired me to help them in their trading. So what is mastery? Well, first of all, it should be your goal. It should be every trader's goal is to become a master of trading, because then all the money you make becomes life-changing money rather than a second income. Okay? That's got to be your main goal. When you sit down and start trading, normally what our goals are is we say, well, I want to make $100,000 a year. Okay. You can't do that goal because it's up to the market. Now, you can put the odds in your favor that you make $100,000 a year, but you can't guarantee you're going to make $100,000 or even come close to guaranteeing it, because you will make what the market will give you. But you can become a master. And that increases the odds that you'll make $100,000 a year. So mastery has got to be that becoming that master. So what is that? Well, it means you're at the peak, your peak of trading ability. Now, everybody has a different peak. You know, guys like Martin Schwartz, their peak was very, very high, and he would make millions and millions and millions of dollars every single year. Another person who was in the Market Wizards book hired me. I worked with him to help him for 18 months. He made $20 million a year. He'd make $20 million, then he'd take a year off, and then he'd make $20 million, and then take a year off. He worked every other year. Now, that is fantastic, but his peak was incredibly high, okay? So you have to sit there and start to think deeply, what is your peak of trading ability? It's probably higher than what you think. Now, don't fantasize. Don't be in a fantasy world, but try to honestly look at your abilities and then project them. And I think as you go through learning to become a stock trading master, an option trading master, a futures and forex trading master, you'll start to see that you have more capabilities than you give yourself credit for. And therefore, your peak, as you learn more, will become a higher and higher peak. So when you first start out, you're in a fantasy world and you think you're going to make $20 million a year. Then you go out and do your first trade and you get punched in the nose. And then you say, oh my God, this is not that easy. But then as you start to learn more, you start to gain capabilities, you start to increase your abilities, you start to have a realistic idea of what your peak is. And the more you learn, the higher your peak is going to be. Now, it's almost to me as when I look at trading masters, they don't think very much about their trading. They just act. It's like they have an unconscious ability to trade. And as a result, it's like they instantly look at the chart, let's say, and immediately know what they're going to do. And I've seen many trading masters, they don't do things like have stop losses because they're watching the market so closely, they get out when it is the appropriate time to get out. So I call that an almost unconscious ability to trade. There's an instantaneous recognition of what to do in any situation. And so that's also, to me, one of the definitions of trading mastery. So, excuse me. Now, that means that they're not going through checklists to decide what to do. Now, I believe that all beginning traders need to use checklists, because the problem with beginning traders is they forget to do certain things. They forget to put in the order to buy. They forget to put in the stop loss. They forget to put in the take profit order. They forget to raise their stop losses if they start to make money. In other words, they forget to do a lot of things. There's not that many things to do in trading. There's only two decisions: buy or sell, and how many shares or how many contracts. So it's not exactly the hardest thing to do in the world. But when beginners, they need to start to go through checklists to make sure that they don't skip something important. So what we want to do is we start in the beginning using checklists. Very important. We don't want to skip anything. And then our goal is to have those checklists internalized. They become internalized, so I don't need to go through the checklist anymore. My mind will unconsciously go through the checklist, and I will then just trade. So that I'm defining mastery as checklists, but I believe that all beginning and intermediate traders should be using a checklist of some type, okay? A trading system is a type of checklist, okay? Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple of different techniques. And the first one is I just call do it. So I have, let me go through this. So take one technique, one. And you've picked that technique because it looks good. It looks like it might work. That could be a fundamental technique. It can be a technical technique. It doesn't matter. So, for example, I teach a technique on called adrenaline. And adrenaline is a technique which looks at the advanced decline line and the index itself, and it combines them in a unique way. Okay, so let's say that's a great technique. I take that one technique, and then I do certain things to it. Now let's take another technique. It turns out that the inventory sales ratio is a good predictor of the economy. Okay, that's another technique. Okay, another technique is moving averages. Okay, there's a technical technique. So you see we've got a macroeconomic one, we got fundamentals, we got technicals. It doesn't matter what the technique is. Pick one. Pick one. The next thing you want to do is learn it. And I mean learn it. Don't think you've learned it, learn it. Go read the rules or the technique over and over again until you can explain it to somebody else easily. That's a great test of if you know the technique, is to teach it to somebody else. Then backtest it. It doesn't matter if it's fundamental, technical, macroeconomic, doesn't matter. Get the data, go back and see how well did it work. Okay? And go back as long as you possibly can, because then you can see how this technique works in different conditions. So if the inventory sales ratio is a good predictor of the economy, does it work in inflationary times, deflationary times, booming economies, recessions, or does it work all the time, which would be fantastic? But it doesn't matter. It could be, like I say, a stock picking technique. It could be a technical trading system. It doesn't matter. Backtest it. Go and see how well it works. Oh, no, wait a minute. There are some techniques you can't backtest because they have no rules. I always pick on Elliott Wave because there's an old joke that if you have 5 Elliott Wave masters in one room, you'll have 9 opinions. In other words, there's no rules with Elliott Wave. So as a result, you really can't test it. So try to stick to techniques that you can test. Okay? So back test it. Go back 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, and see how well does this technique work. Okay? I've done a video on how to back test. I don't know. It's somewhere around. I don't know where to get it. But okay. Back test it. The next thing we want to do is we then want to implement it. Assuming the back test is good and this technique looks good, now we want to implement it. Okay, so we're going to now go from looking at the past to now running with it in real time. So I've got technique A. It looks really good over the past, and now I'm going to want to actually do it. Now, some techniques, if they're long-term techniques, it might take you 6 months for a year, to really have good experience with it. Now, the purpose of having really good experience with it is to see what are the emotional effects of this technique. Some techniques are emotionally very easy. Some techniques are very difficult. Some are boring. Some are too frenetic. Each person has a different personality, a different emotional style. And so you want to make sure that that technique fits your emotional style. You're not going to change your character. That's extremely difficult to do. So you only want to use techniques that actually are, let's say, they fit with the way you see the world, right? I mean, a day trader has a different personality than a long-term position trader. That's great. They can both make a lot of money. They'll do it differently. But to make the long-term position trader and try to turn them into a day trader and vice versa, it's probably not going to work. It's probably not going to work, okay? Day traders find position trading boring, and position traders find day trading too frantic, okay? So you should always match your trading style to your emotional style. So we want to now be using this technique in the real world in order to make sure that it fits our style. In addition, we want to see that in the real world, it has roughly the same results as our back test did. Okay. Then, after we've done that, we're going to review all this. We're going to sit down and we're going to write down a review. I've learned this. Here's the rules. I back tested it. Here are the results. I've now implemented it and run it for a while in real time. And here's my conclusion based on all of that. Because really, this is the way you become a master. Okay? And then, once you reviewed it all, you do this all over again. But the mastery comes in is that when you did it the first time, you probably had a checklist. But now you're going to do it faster. You're going to sit down and say, like, every day I'm going to spend 1 minute on this technique. That's all, just 1 minute. It used to take me an hour a day. Now I'm going to take it down to 2 minutes. Pick a reasonable but tight schedule. And no help. It's got to be just automatic in your mind. You can't use a checklist anymore. Now you can see this whole process could take 6 months, could take a year. Now, here's one of the real critical things. You don't want to go too fast. We have at Wealth Builder courses. So for example, we have one called Stock Masterclass. And it really teaches people how to become masters. It teaches them, macroeconomic techniques, stock picking, and a lot of technical techniques of different time horizons so that you can really master stock trading. But what happens is people sign up for the course and they want to go through all the lessons in the first day. Now, if you go through all the lessons in 1 day or 1 month, does that make you a master? No, it makes you confused because your mind can't absorb all that information in a short period of time. And people do this all the time. They'll buy a great book on trading and then they'll start to read it. And then usually they just get bored in the middle and don't finish the book. Or maybe they jump ahead to just the one chapter they were kind of interested in. But the point is, does that make you a master? No, it makes you mediocre. So what happens is people try to become masters too fast. Just relax. There's no rush. Become a master now by taking this one technique and using this basic structure here and just keep doing it over and over again. Now, to speed it up, you could take one macroeconomic technique, one stock picking technique, and one technical technique and do this process for 3 techniques at once, which will give you kind of a diversified and holistic approach to mastery. And you can master 3 of these techniques at once using the process that I have there on the screen. All right? But this is an incredible, important way to do it. This is the best way to become a master, is just do it. Okay? Now write down all you've learned. And here's the key part too, including what are the deep principles underlying this technique. So with inventory sales ratio, Why would the inventory sales ratio be good? Why would this stock selection technique be good? Why would this technical technique be good? Why are they profitable? Well, once you start asking the questions, why are they profitable? Now you're really understanding them. And understanding is one of the critical things you need to become a master. All right. Mastery technique number 2, mentorship. So becoming a master can take a long time. And so you want to speed that up. I'm totally with you on that. Totally with you on that. And one way to do that is to get a mentor of some type. So what a mentor can do is find a master and study under them. All I can say on this line is good luck. There are virtually no masters who teach. Okay, you got it? This is almost impossible to do. You can find some good traders who teach. You can find some good traders that coach, that mentor. But great traders, they're not interested. They can shortcut, but if you find one, if you can find someone who's better than you are, maybe they're not a master, but they're better than you are. They can shortcut your learning. They can point you in the right directions, okay? They will say, go over there and read that. Now do this, now do that. And then they can teach you the underlying principles of what it is you're actually learning. So that can be very, very valuable as well, okay? Very valuable. The main thing that can speed up things is shortcutting, right? They can shortcut. They can say, don't read that, read this. Study this, don't study that. Because they know what works and what doesn't work, and then they teach you the underlying principles. All right. So there's my wrap on mastery and how to do it. There's really 2 techniques. The first one is the best, but it's the slowest. And if there was some way that you could combine the 2, that would be spectacular, spectacular. So take a look at this. I think the main message here is to go slow. You don't need to go fast. Take your time and master a technique before you learn another one, okay? If you study a technical trading system, master it before you add another one, okay? Before you add another one. Now, as I say, you could study 3 different types of techniques, like macro, fundamental, and technical. That's okay. That's okay because they'll all be additive. But there's no point in learning 3 technical systems all at the same time because they might be duplicative. All right. So study this, please. Please, 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 please. Become a master because that is how you live a life of unbelievable attributes, okay? Global freedom lifestyle like I do, traveling all the time. I travel with the season. Until COVID hit, I traveled with the seasons. I never had winter. I don't think I even own any long sleeve shirts anymore. Okay, I'm exaggerating there. I have a few. But you see what I'm saying? Mastery has results that are unbelievable. To become a master is actually not hard, but you got to do it. You got to do it right. And most people don't have the self-discipline to do it right, which is to study, learn, and master. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you later.